much as the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation has accomplished, we are positive our agency's best days are yet to come. You can see it on our faces. You can feel it with your hands. And you can hear it on the landscape. You'll find us working hard to make your state's natural resources the most healthy in the land.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are your Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. Fishing, hunting, wildlife management, resource protection, habitat conservation, public outreach, and education.
It's what we do.
It's what we live for.
Simply put, conserving wildlife literally means the wise use of wildlife. And that's at the root of everything we do. Oklahoma is one of the most species-diverse states in the nation. Making sure opportunities exist for hunters, anglers, and all those who appreciate wildlife is not only our job.
It's our passion.
We are your Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. From sunup to sundown, and sometimes all night long. The employees of our agency are relentless in their dedication to a job well done. The science behind wildlife conservation is constantly evolving, and our biologists are leading the way with groundbreaking and cutting-edge techniques that the entire scientific community benefits from. If that's not enough to make you proud, then consider this. We've been doing all this since our agency's birth in 1909, without using a dime of taxpayer money. That's because the Wildlife Department is designed as a user-pay, user-benefit agency. It's sportsmen and wildlife enthusiasts who pay the bill for wildlife conservation in Oklahoma. Revenue from the sale of hunting and fishing licenses make up the majority of the agency's budget. There's also another unique way that outdoorsmen contribute financially. Each time someone buys a gun, ammunition, fishing equipment, or fuel for their boat, a small portion of the tax they pay at the register is used for wildlife conservation. But hunters and anglers don't just contribute financially. A long time ago, we recognized that sportsmen are our most effective management tool. Shaping regulations and making sure everyone complies to them has played a major role in bringing many species back from the brink of extinction to unimaginable numbers. As much as the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation has accomplished, we are positive.
Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome for joining us for the March 4th, 2024 regular business meeting of the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. We're glad you're here. Thank you. We will begin with roll call, please.
Commissioner Mabry is absent. Commissioner Deal. Here.
Commissioner Barwick. Here. Commissioner Holder. Here. Commissioner Zeltz. Here. Commissioner Dillingham is absent. Commissioner Kane. Morning. Commissioner Gaddis. Here. If you will, please stand for the invocation led by Micah Holmes, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we come to you today grateful for all the blessings you have provided us. We seek your guidance and wisdom today, and we ask that you comfort all those in the ODWC family who are hurting. We may pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have some guests to introduce. Michael Sweeney with Tidewater Advisory, Rick Grenman with Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Foundation, Robert Longsinger with USGS of Oklahoma, Matthew Turnley, OSU, Coulter Chitwood, OSU, and Sue Fairbanks, OSU, and Deborah Torres, OSU. Welcome you all. Appreciate you being here. All right, we have an update and a presentation by Bill Dinkins, if you would come forward.
Chairwoman Gaddis, good morning, commissioners. We've talked about doing a little better job communicating with commissioners on. Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. Some of our species management ideas, and today Dallas Barber is going to come up and we're going to talk about pronghorn antelope. He's going to cover the history, behind the seasons, the tags, everything associated with it. But before he does, Hayden, will you stand up, please? Hayden Savage is our biologist at Beaver Wildlife Management Area. We don't get out in the panhandle very often. Hayden is a big integral part of our pronghorn management as well. Works as a team with Dallas and others to make sure we have good information. But anyway, Dallas, if you want to come on up and we'll let you present the management side.
Where they have us kind of hiding back here. Okay, my name's Dallas Barber. I'm our big game biologist. I've spoken with you guys a couple times about deer, but a nice change of pace to come talk a little bit about our pronghorn management here in Oklahoma. We'll let Don get our presentation set up here.
Let's see. I can't read that. There we go.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about pronghorn management here in Oklahoma. Where do I point this thing, Don?
Power on.
There we go. All right. So just, before we kind of get into what we're doing, just a little bit about the history of what we've done in the past. 1966 was Oklahoma's first pronghorn season. 54 pronghorn were harvested at that time. Now, since then, seasons were very intermittent, with population levels being fairly low across most of the panhandle. So we actually didn't have any pronghorn seasons from 69 to 71. We had 1 year there in 72, and then from 73 to 86, we didn't have any seasons at all, just due to low numbers in that part of the state. Starting in 87, we've had seasons continue to be open in some way, shape, or form. 3 different ways to be able to harvest a pronghorn. The first being a once-in-a-lifetime draw permit. We started those in that 1987 time frame. Landowner draw permits, so those are separate from the controlled hunt draw. They're their own pool. Landowners are in their own pool with other landowners. We started those in the late 90s, and then over-the-county archery permits was that late 2000s time frame. So you don't have to draw for those. That's an over-the-counter permit that anyone and everyone can get. Kind of did that because it's such a difficult method to harvest a pronghorn with. A lot of the times if you can get within 60 or 70 yards of a pronghorn on the ground, you're doing a pretty dang good job, better yet getting into bow range. Just some current regulation highlights. Currently, the season limit is 2, only one of which may be a buck. Open areas include all of Cimarron County and the portion of Texas County that's west of Highway 136. So that's that north-south highway that cuts Guyman right in half. Everything west of that in Texas County, fair game for pronghorn hunting. Archery dates, pretty short season, October 1 through the 14th. Gun dates, so again, that's permit only by either that controlled draw, state draw permit, or a landowner draw permit. It really kind of varies by calendar, so it's not a set day on when that starts. Typically, it's a 4-day either sex hunt is going to be late August, early September. Immediately following that is a 10-day doe hunt, early September time frame. And then late doe season starts the Saturday after deer gun opener and will run through January 15th. So tag allocation. Tags are allocated based on really a combo of population estimates and our objectives. We've also been taking some preventative measures for crop depredation. Those are also considered in that number of tag allocation. Over the years, allocation has really migrated from being heavily weighted towards landowners over our state drawn hunters. So you can see 2010, it was going 60-40 to the state draw hunters. This last year, 70-30 towards landowners. So we've really started migrating a lot of those permits as far as the weight towards our landowner program as opposed to our state draw folks. So how do we know how many of these to give out? This goes down to some of our surveying techniques. Our aerial transect surveys for overall population indices have been performed starting in the early 1990s. They were ran intermittently until 2011. When Weston Storr got out to the Panhandle, he's one of our biologists that's now over Cimarron Hills and Cimarron Bluff. He actually started over at Beaver. In 2013, he decided we're going to start flying these every single year. So in 2013, we started flying those annually. That's just looking at a overall population indice. So looking at trends over long-term periods of time on how many pronghorn we're observing from the air. Additionally, we added a fawning block transect in 2014. So those are just a couple randomized blocks that were set out. Here's a good look at them. So that population transect right there is the photo that's on the left. That vertical line cutting through is Highway 136. So that represents pretty much all of our area that we're hunting pronghorn in. That's 18 transect lines that you see running across east to west, and those are 2 miles apart. So they're 81 miles long, 2 miles apart. We cover a very good portion of the Panhandle flying this method. And again, that's just observation. So obviously there's a little bit of room for error as far as missing some pronghorn here and there, but that gives us a really good idea of just how many or what our populations are doing. That block transect is going to be on the right, so there's a handful of transects there. Some are in better habitat than others in regards to fawning. That's what we're looking at during those summer flights. Block transects, we fly those usually July time frame. The population transects, we're flying those in that late January, early February time frame. So we fly all that to spit out this big confusing number filled chart, right? This gives us ideas on buck to doe ratios. It gives us ideas on how many bucks, how many does we're observing, and it gives us a kind of a trend line to look at when it comes to population. I hope this works. This is us flying. You're going to miss them if you're not paying attention. Zoom right there. So that's kind of what that looks like when we're flying those transect surveys. Now, there are some tricks there. I was holding my phone really still, so it makes them look like they're going shoo. But it's a little bit easier than what the video lends yourself to believe. Being able to identify between bucks and does, you're really just looking for that black cheek patch that's behind their ear. So even though our bucks will have horns, does can have horns as well. Although they're smaller, the real telltale is looking for that black cheek patch. So this is a graph of basically that big giant chart that I showed you over the last almost 20 years now. So starting in 2005 on the left, this is just an overall population indice from 2005 until current. So you can see there's been some ups, there's been some downs, but it's mostly on its way down here over the last 20 years. This is just breaking that out between between each year, or each county, excuse me, by buck and doe. So you can see that buck population and doe population in Cimarron County are both working their way down. There are some variances there looking at drought. So that big dip you see in 2014 is a result of that. Here we are, Texas County, and boy, they're just bouncing all over the place. So here we go into some tag allocation. You can see that, you know, we've been high, we've been low, we've been stagnant. A little bit of that is biological, a little bit of that is some political. So that's kind of what our tag allocations look like. It's broken out there by what hunt type and what, you know, if it was landowner or state drawn. So we've been anywhere from as low as, you know, 160 back in that 14-15 year, all the way up to as high as 315. So this population index versus tag allocation, I thought painted a pretty good story about we've been fairly reactive to tag allocation based on habitat conditions and population metrics. So that orange line is our population estimate based on that indice. Those bars are going to represent our tag allocation. As far as harvest goes, we've been anywhere as high as, you know, between 170, 180, and as low as, you know, in the mid 60s. So really just represents that there's quite a bit of variance based on tag allocation, based on population availability, based on hunter success. And with that, that basically brought us to have quite a few questions about what's going on with our pronghorn population, right? We're seeing numbers that are continually declining regardless of tag allocation or reduction in tag allocation. So we brought in our folks at OSU to start a 3-year collaring project. And before I steal too much of their thunder, I'm going to let them come up and talk to you guys about that. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Dallas, on this last chart here, that really doesn't indicate the success ratio because I don't know how many tags were issued in those time periods. What's the success ratio on that graph right there?
Yeah, so hunter success is usually around the 70 percentile mark, Hayden. So it's fairly high for a controlled hunt, especially for an area where access is fairly limited. You know, a lot of that part of the world's private land, and they're having to get access to even be able to go hunt to begin with. But that 65 to 70% is the typical success rate for that. There's
consistent all over across the graph there?
I would say that's probably the average. There are years where success rate is a lot better. Drought years, believe it or not, they tend to be better just because you can focus a little bit more on water sources. It kind of forces them to behave for you to be able to go hunt. Other years, when this last year they had quite a bit of rain, visibility was really tough. I mean, you could walk right by pronghorn that were bedded in, you know, what's tall grass out there, 2-3 feet of grass, and couldn't see them hardly. So there's some variance, but that 60 to 70% range would be the average.
Is that the combined average with the landowner tags and the draw tag?
Yes, sir.
Is that also combining firearms and archery?
It's hard for us to understand what success rate is with archery just because of the lifetime license also includes that permit. So we obviously know how many of those permits we sell, but we don't know what success rates accurately are because there's a lot of people that have a lifetime license, and it's hard to measure that metric.
Dallas, what would be the ideal population?
It's really going to vary based on habitat quality. You know, some years there's going to be really great habitat that can support quite a few pronghorn. Other years it's going to be low. There's also that kind of social carrying capacity that we run into. It's a pretty politicized species where some landowners have certain mindset about pronghorn and other ones have different ones. So whenever we've been in that 1,800 to 2,500 overall number, that tends to be a pretty happy medium place to be. We've kind of shifted to the other end of that where some people are asking, where's our pronghorn? Where'd our pronghorn go? So hopefully our folks with OSU will be able to answer some of those questions for us.
Hey Dallas, do we know what the Texas population in that area?
So all of Texas was 14,000. and that's between two separate populations, the Trans-Pecos area, which is way kind of El Paso, Southwest Texas, combined with the population that's, their panhandle. But 14,000 compared to our 800 and change.
Do their numbers, though, trend kind of like with our numbers do on population? Have we ever compared?
For the most part, yes, but they're a lot more stable. They don't see as big of swings as we have.
Or there's more heading towards us.
Well, I appreciate you guys' time this morning. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. That's interesting information. Thank you, Dallas. Appreciate that. All right, Bill?
Yeah, if I may add just a little bit more to that, early on, we had landowner meetings out there, and our interim director, Wade Free, was out there at that time, and a big part of helping build this model, if you will, for our pronghorn management. So it's pretty robust. I like that we do the annual aerial surveys now. Before it was just kind of intermittent, gives us a little better idea. And we've had, over the years, great cooperation from our game wardens out there. We're really instrumental. Unfortunately, Max is no longer there, and Rusty's moved to Woodward County, but look forward to getting a new warden out there. I understand we got a new warden headed that way to assist us. So as Dallas also mentioned, you saw some of the trends there in the graph that we're in a declining mode. One of the things we talked about was, yes, we do an aerial survey, but is there potentially a chance we might be missing some animals, or could they be in Texas, like Commissioner Dill brought up? That's one of the things we said, well, what if we mark them, then we'll know. And so we put out an RFP, a request for proposals. Kurt's in here somewhere. Kurt, our research supervisor, you all met Kurt before. Solicited proposals, in Oklahoma State came forth with a very nice proposal, very robust proposal. And I know you've already recognized them, but Dr. Fairbanks, Dr. Chitwood, and then Dr. Lonsinger are our principal investigators. So you can see there's a lot of effort in Oklahoma State just by their attendance today. And I might point out also, you may remember Dr. Lonsinger is also the assistant unit leader up there for the Oklahoma Cooperative Research Unit. So thank you all for your time and effort. But Matt, if you want to start working your way, Matt's one of the grad students working on his PhD on this project, and he's got a PowerPoint presentation for you all. Matt.
Thanks, Bill.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Yeah, like you guys heard, my name is Matt Turnley. I'm a second-year PhD student at OSU, and I'm really just a nerd at heart, so getting to be out here and nerd out about wildlife with a room of people that also care about wildlife is pretty much my dream day, so thanks for having me out here. And I'll be presenting a year 2 update on that pronghorn research project that was alluded to. It's a 4-year study, so we're about halfway through. We wanted to share some of our results. So you got a big background, so I won't harp on this too much. But yeah, there were some initial surveys suggesting that pronghorn in Oklahoma were declining. And this was not unique to Oklahoma. We're seeing this kind of throughout the West right now. But because of these initial surveys, there was a proposed project to understand the extent of this decline, why the decline was happening, and what we could do to potentially turn that around. It's a big collaboration between ODWC, OSU, Texas A&M Kingsville, and East Central University. And because pronghorn are currently only found in the panhandle, that's where this research has obviously been occurring. We use a variety of methods to answer these big, impactful questions, but a lot of it really boils down to getting tracking collars on as many animals as possible. And then once we get tracking collars on animals, we can monitor them remotely or more easily locate them in the field. So we're halfway through, but here were some of our results. We have captured over 160 adults, kind of spread out throughout the study area, so we've got good spatial variability there. That number varies between years just because we're trying to keep a little over 100 living animals colored at the beginning of each year, so we'll continue to do that. And adult survival has been between 70 to 80% both years. That's a little low. It's not uncommon to see adult ungulates have over 80%, over 90% survival in a given year, and split up between males and females. Those numbers are pretty similar, both between 70 and 80% for does or bucks. Our cause-specific mortality, if I can get that to switch. There we go. So our cause-specific mortality for adults is relatively diverse, but you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, hunter-harvest has been the leading cause of mortality among both years for those known sources of mortality. It's also worth noting at the kind of 2 and 3 spot there that vehicle collisions were a relatively big cause of mortality in the first year, 2022, but we didn't see any evidence of that in 2023. And then adult pronghorn are relatively resilient from coyote predation, but it does occur. Kind of rinse and repeat those same things with fawn survival. We've captured 70 pronghorn fawns across the panhandle. Big takeaway from that is that those suckers are fast and they are hard to capture. But our second big takeaway is that survival is quite low. You can see we've had about 11% survival in both years. You know, it's always going to be tough to be a fawn in any sort of landscape with predators. But we'd love to see those numbers be a little higher, have some sort of bounce back year, whether it's 20, 30, 40% in a given year. And it is worth noting that this is just survival to August, you know, when all the students have to go back and take classes. Thanks, professors. But so 11% just to August. So that's first summer survival, not even survival throughout their first year of life. Cause-specific mortality for the fawns then has been predominantly coyote predation. This is probably not a surprise. We knew coyotes were the dominant predator in the system, but that expectation has certainly been met. So we took these survival metrics, these survival numbers, and we threw them into some really basic initial population models. We can and will use more complex models as we get more data, but thus far, we're seeing an annual population decline of about 9 to 11%. To get a stable population, we would need about 85% female survival and about 20% fawn survival. Pronghorn produce a lot of twins, so they can bounce back relatively quickly given the chance. We just haven't seen the survival that would be required for that thus far. So, taking this research further, now we know that this decline is confirmed. We know the extent of the decline to an extent, so we want to figure out why this decline is happening and what we can do to turn around that decline. So that's what will be, you know, our big kind of goals over the next 2 years, the second half of the project. So we'll plan to look at that with a specific focus on a few different things. Like you heard, there was this idea that maybe it was movement out of the state that is resulting in this potential, or in this decline. And thus far, we haven't seen that. Our big picture in the middle there is pretty much a live look at pronghorn in the panhandle. And for the most part, animals that are born in the panhandle live and die in the panhandle. You'll see occasional movements in and out of the study area. You can see that the blue circle bottom right a little bit heading into a little bit into Texas, but by and large, animals stay within the panhandle. And that white line, I think, just got messed up in formatting and sending PowerPoints, but it was supposed to outline the panhandle. It should be shifted a little bit lower. And then in the right, you can see an example of one female throughout the 2 years of the study thus far, so more than 4,000 points on this individual. And you can see that she stayed within a relatively small area outside of Guyman, so movement has been pretty limited within this population. Our next steps then will look at there's any barriers to movement. You can see the highway at the top extend up her range. See if any barriers to movement are related to survival. See if there's any other human development across the study area related to movement and thus survival. We'll also be looking at how predators vary across space and time in the study area. So we've been doing predator scat surveys, and so we'll be able to look at that to see if any predator indices are related to survival, see if this is more of a top-down influence system, and then be able to see what's in the predator diet and how that might vary across time. On the flip side of predator diet comes pronghorn diet. So we've been collecting pronghorn fecal samples throughout the study area. We've collected 250 samples across the 2 years, so we'll be able to get various diet indices, whether that's fecal nitrogen, fecal phosphorus, as well as be able to determine what species make up their diets, and hopefully link that, see if that links to survival, and see if this is potentially a nutritionally limited population. So up on the screen you'll see the 4 kind of most common plant families that we've been seeing. Unsurprisingly, this is a pretty forb-heavy diet for this population. So we will hopefully be able to link and see if there's any species in the study area that can be connected to survival. We're seeing these 4 species in upwards of 90% of the samples that we've collected. So just to recap, panhandle pronghorn are displaying low female survival and low recruitment, which is resulting in a population decline. And taking this further, we're hoping to determine whether this is kind of a nutritionally limited population, the role of predators in this population, and any other kind of factors that are resulting in this decline to hopefully give us some management objectives, some actions to take to help out this population. And with that, there's about 1 million people to thank. I want to reiterate that this is a really collaborative project between ODWC and a bunch of universities, a bunch of private landowners. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to you for having me here today. And I want to shout out, as you heard, my advisors, Coulter Chitwood, Sue Fairbanks, Rob Lonsinger, who are with us and can hopefully help answer any questions that you guys have either now or as we're walking around the building. So thank you.
Very good. Questions for Matt?
One question. So how about habitat change? Is there a change in the panhandle over the past so many years from native species to improved species of grasses that would change? Is there something we have any information on yet?
So we know that over a long time, over the habitat that these animals kind of evolved in, we have changed to where the pronghorn was this kind of mixed grass prairie to now it's almost predominantly cropland up in the panhandle. I don't know how much it's changed in the last 5-10 years, but hopefully with those diet indices that we looked at, we'll be able to say, hey, in areas with X species, with X diet, survival is lower or higher, and that can hopefully get us some management objectives, potentially improve habitat here, habitat is better here, stuff like that.
Rather than waiting another 2 years, is there something we should be doing now to help the population?
Great question. I think I'm limited on what I should say. I'm a researcher. I'm just the nerd kind of running the statistics. But if we could do something specifically, reducing female harvest seems like a reasonable action. We see hunter harvest is the top leading cause of mortality thus far. We want female survival to be higher. So I think that would be a reasonable first step, and it's something that we can control. A lot of the habitat conditions, the weather, the predators, any actions that we may be able to take, kind of vary in their effect. We know that if we reduce female harvest, that is a set, number that we can control. That would be an option to take.
Bill, when are we going to make that determination?
Yeah, Bill, what's your recommendation?
Say more than once. We'll wait till how many more years do you have on this project?
2 more.
2 more years on this project. Get all the information, get it through all the doctors and use that information to help us make a management plan decision that we'll bring back to you for approval.
But what about the coming year? I mean, when are you gonna determine how many tags are available?
We are in the process, right, Hayden? Right now, y'all just flew.
We just got done with our annual survey about 2 weeks ago, so we have numbers out within a month.
And if you recall that graph for tag allocations that Dallas showed last year, we made a pretty significant cut back on tags last year.
Well, the reason why I ask that is if we're cutting back tags, we might want to look at limiting non-residents, because we want to give our residents preference to be able to hunt these pronghorn. So that's something that should be in the mix. So before we get into that, we need to cut down the non-resident. I'd hate to just across the board cut it down and everybody's in the same boat. So looking at that, what we can do.
Hey, one thing I didn't understand was the lifetime license holder, how we don't have that data. Does he not check? I mean, he's got to check the pronghorn in, correct? Could you explain that, Dallas, a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, to be able to gain or to get a good idea on success rate, we need to know how many hunters attempted to hunt pronghorn. So if you have a lifetime license, you can just go. You don't have to tell anybody that you're going. The only way we know if you were successful is if you did check that pronghorn in. So whenever we have, so many pronghorn that are checked in, okay, was that 108 pronghorn harvested by 109 hunters, or was it harvested by 10,009 hunters? Because there's so many folks that have a lifetime. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Any more questions for Matt?
I got one for Bill. I get questions when I go out to the panhandle from landowners about population decline. Are we talking to landowners out there about what we're doing? Is this going to be on our website that we are doing research and maybe some of this data we can look at? How are we educating the landowner?
So Hayden, I may defer to you because I know you go out there quite a bit, don't you, and visit with them?
Yes. So just from this past year, they've really noticed the decline. I've had a lot of landowners ask me about, why are we still allocating a lot of these doe tags if our population is going down significantly. As far as the bucks go, we can handle the buck harvest we have right now, but our doe tag allocation is, they're starting to notice it out there, and those are the people that live out there every day and notice it. There's farmers that have been out there for 30, 50 years, and it's the lowest they've ever seen it. So they're seeing the same thing we are from the plane.
And if I can interrupt briefly on the kind of outreach side. So for one, every single animal that's captured, every data that's collected out there is on private land. So before that happens, we're calling those landowners, knocking doors. So every time we've collected data, that landowner knows why and that we're out there. And then we've also done a variety of outreach videos with ODWC and with other folks that have recorded what's going on to try and spread a little word, beyond that word of mouth within the panhandle. So definitely something we could improve, but word is out there, and we're taking steps to kind of improve that.
It looks like, if I could, one last thing about putting information out there is our social media team has also done a wonderful job with this project. They've been out there and getting video and getting photographs of everything that's happening on the research project with our OSU team, and they're pushing that out there through all of our social media channels, and they're doing a good job of getting that information to landowners and the general public as well.
If we wait 2 years before we do something drastic, is it going to be too late? I mean, historically, it looks like we have banned hunting out there over certain years, obviously to help the population. I mean, it seems like it's pretty low, and your landowners out there are recognizing it, which they're going to be closest to it. So maybe that's to Bill. I mean, I know y'all have not made a recommendation to us, but is that something y'all can consider? We might want to have a moratorium for a year or two.
Well, we definitely could consider it. I think the next step is to get with Hayden and get his recommendation, get staff's recommendation, figure out where we're at. if you remember that slide, also, like I already pointed out, we made significant cuts last year. Typically, we like to see what impacts. We don't necessarily go year to year because there's so many factors, as we've heard, going on out there. I mean, if we had a huge upswing in a fawn crop this year, we may be right back and be okay instead of cutting further. So I prefer to look at the information and not knee-jerk react every year just because the science isn't 100%. There's a lot of factors going on.
Well, we don't, we don't want to limit, especially the Oklahoma hunters, from the opportunity. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Very nice.
All right. Item 8, we have Nels. Wrote us up.
Commissioners, as many of you know, we have a couple standing issues in our magazine that feature hunting and fishing. The September-October issue is typically the big game report. We cover all things antelope, all things white-tailed deer, elk, etc. And then in March-April, we feature an angler's guide where we showcase all the beautiful fishing we have here in our state. Well, we have a team of folks that thought, because we don't have anything specific standing for wildlife diversity, that they would do some brainstorming and come up with an idea as a way to feature the wildlife diversity management that the Wildlife Department does. And so I bring you the Outdoor Oklahoma editor, Don Brown, along with the wildlife diversity team consisting of Kurt Kuklinski, Gina Donnell, Mark Howery, Curtis Tackett, and Cheyenne Gonzalez. And they came up with the idea of producing a special issue, if you will. It's the May-June issue of 2023 of Outdoor Oklahoma magazine, but to showcase the amazing wildlife and work of the Wildlife Diversity Program. So that's the 52-page magazine. And I would say that when the crew comes up with an idea, it usually is successful because it was recognized recently for a special award from the Oklahoma Wildlife Society. Let me read it here. Oklahoma chapter of the Wildlife Society's Publication and Creativity Award. And Bill, did you or Kurt like to say something on behalf of Don? Kurt and Don?
That's all good.
Thank you, Chief. I just want to say thanks to the communications supervisor, Kelly Adams. Kelly's back here. She and Gina Donnell really kind of pushed this idea, and it did turn out to be a great issue, thanks to a lot of work from Gina and other folks. Our wildlife diversity team helped a lot in that, and we had 5 or 6 pretty in-depth articles on the wildlife diversity segment of the department. And so we got to tell the story of something else the department does for the public that doesn't get a lot of recognition. So, Kirk?
Thanks, Don. Just really quickly, I'll reiterate what Don said. This is a big shout out to Kelly and Gina Donnell. Gina, although she works in C&E division, is part of our wildlife diversity program, and she works directly with my biologists in getting this information out there, and this is absolutely a tribute to her efforts in getting that information out. So we appreciate the teamwork and think this is a perfect example of a lot of the teamwork that happens kind of behind the scenes but crosses multiple divisions, and the magazine and the award are kind of a recognition of that effort. So we appreciate Gina's efforts.
Thank you. And congratulations. Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right. Additionally, we have another award to present. Bill Dinkins.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gaddis, for recognizing the amendment. So we found out Thursday at the Oklahoma chapter of the Wildlife Society meeting that one of our employees received one of the highest, most prestigious awards that that chapter presents, and my understanding is they don't present it every year. Is that correct? Yeah. So for this year, though, and what I'm speaking in regards to is the Oklahoma Award. So we found out Thursday that our own Russ Horton was the recipient of the Oklahoma Award. So Russ, if you want to come up, real briefly, Kurt kicked off the nomination. Several of us worked on it together. It was a collaborative effort, but at Bartlesville, you heard, if you remember, Russ's tenure award, 35 years, up at the Bartlesville Commission meeting last October. But, just briefly, started as a biologist in '88, as a regional biologist is what we were called back then. Moved to senior biologist, then went to private lands and wildlife diversity supervisor, and in 2020 stepped up to be assistant chief for wildlife division. And he served honorably, and I know Russ and I have a lot of one-on-one meetings. Russ brings a lot of common sense and always very level-headed. So I usually run a lot of my crazy ideas by him, and we'll usually meet in the middle somewhere. But this one sentence on the nomination I'll read real quick. Russ provides steady leadership through his genuine demeanor, a unique ability to building trusting relationships, and a true passion to protect and improve the natural world he so loves. I think that summarizes it. So with that, Russ, congratulations for outstanding contribution to wildlife management.
Great job. Good job.
Well, thank you, Bill. So just a Oklahoma kid that's known from a young age that I wanted to work for the wildlife department, really didn't know much beyond that. I've learned a lot over the years, but this is a great honor to be recognized by your state peers for an award of this magnitude. It's not something that happens individually. I've had support from the bottom of the agency to the top, including the commission and administration. That Bill mentioned the crazy ideas. That's not a one-way street. He's not the only one that comes up with crazy ideas. I've had a lot through the years as well. Some worked, some didn't, but the willingness to allow you to bring that forth and weigh it out and try it, and some worked, some didn't, but done a lot of good things. And then the staff that I've worked with and as move up through the agency that you oversee, for the most part, just turn them loose and let them go. They know what they're doing. They do a good job of it. But standing here, maybe keep a little bit of the weight of the world off their shoulders and let them shine. And I appreciate the folks that did that for me early in my career. But it's been it's been a good run. It's going to come to an end before too much longer. But I appreciate the opportunity to spend the last 35 years doing my dream job, and look forward to what the future brings. And there's a lot of capable folks in this department that are likewise deserving of this award, so I appreciate it.
Well, congratulations and great job. Thank you.
Is there someone from the? They represent the.
I am on the board. I can represent them.
Let's get a photo. Good job. Yeah, I'll take two. Ready? One more. Don. Taking your picture.
Thank you, Russ. Lots of years.
Kurt?
Did they do it?
We're doing another photo.
Okay, good job. Good job.
Get
get Donna in the picture.
There we go.
Be rare.
Congratulations again, Russ. All right. Item number 9 is consideration and vote to approve, amend, reject, or take other action on the minutes from the February 5th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Deal?
Aye.
Commissioner Barwick? Commissioner Holder? Commissioner Zells?
Yes.
Commissioner Kane? Commissioner Gaddis?
Aye. All right, director's report. Director Wade Free, please.
Morning, Commission. You should have your federal and congressional update in your packet. I won't go over that. I'll hit real quick on the Oklahoma legislative update. Of course, the big news was our license bill passed 88-3 out of the House, so great work for all of you that helped with that. It does show the support we have across the street over there at the Capitol with our representatives. They've listened to their constituents, and it's clear that they represent and have heard their constituents and appreciate the need for some license consolidation and reform. So good news. It'll move on to the Senate where they will approve or reject the amendments, and hopefully that same support will be there on the Senate side, and we'll be getting along pretty good. So most of you have heard Catherine moved on. She took a job with the National Deer Association. She'll still be working over there at the Capitol some with that organization, but Nels has stepped in the meantime in that transition. He's not new to the process. 7 or 8 years ago, he spent a lot of time over there, so he's been working with Catherine for the last couple of weeks trying to make that transition to keep things moving over there. So just appreciate everybody that's helped over there and the contacts you've made and the support we've built over there. So that's good news. I'm going to let Nels kind of come up and give a brief update on legislation. There's a lot of stuff happening over there. Nels, you want to come up and kind of touch on some of the things that are immediate, and then I'll jump back in there.
Yeah, thanks, Wade. So as Wade mentioned, I just kind of got pulled in a couple weeks ago. So some of this is even foreign to me at this point, but every day we're working on getting up to speed. I guess the main thing I would say is it's pretty early in the process. We just saw the first committee deadline pass, bills leaving the committees in the House of Origin. And so now those bills will go to the floor to be considered. We continue to have discussions with most all of the authors on the various bills, looking at everything. They're in the realm of deer. There's some predator control stuff over there. Some tax credit stuff that's pretty interesting relating to feral hog control devices, and also gun safes or gun storage, safe gun storage, and potentially some sales tax relief on hunting ammunition. Some carryover legislation as well. And then, of course, there are some additional bills. Well, one in particular related to the state duck stamp that's kind of run separately. There's also another related to a commercial hunt area, winged upland game, and both of those bills are not anticipated to be used for those licenses should the license bill actually pass, because both of those one-offs bills, the content of which is in our license bill. So they were kind of run separately on a separate track, if you will, but we do anticipate if the license bill is passed, the content of what's in those bills is in there already. So one thing that's we'll be working on this week probably is non-resident hunting guide licensure. rules or licensure. Had an email that author had requested to have us talk to him about that, so we'll be back in discussion on that. Of course, elk population study was one that we had worked with the author on, and Bill's got on his radar to do some type of elk population study, statewide elk population study. And with that, Wade, I don't know, is there any questions specifically, or?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What's the status of this drone bill that, it seems to me that it would interfere with law enforcement trying to protect us and enforce our laws? I don't know what they're called, unauthorized drone use or something.
So there are at least a couple different drone concept bills that are out there that I think are generally related to all law enforcement. Not specifically, they're not specifically trying to regulate the wildlife department or game wardens in particular. A lot of it deals with the technology that's in the drones, and many of the drone technology comes from China, so there are concerns about national security, essentially. And I guess we will just pay attention and see as that moves through the process. Again, it's still pretty early, but there is a lot of interest out there, I think, not just in Oklahoma, but nationally, on trying to get a handle on like what technology is being used, whether it's in drones or other places that relates to that. So, Commissioner Barwick, you had a question?
What's the Senate time frame for
so it's not specifically spelled out. They could have that bill put back on the floor to consider the amendments, pretty much according to their calendar, which could be next week or the week after or the week after. There isn't a specific date that we know it's gonna be heard. We have, and we'll talk to both the author and the Senate floor leader to see if we can get that. We talked potentially at the Sportsman's Day at the Capitol about potentially if it was to be approved and sent to the governor, and the governor was inclined to sign it, maybe having a signing ceremony. So if any or all of that transpires, why, we will be sure to let you know.
What's going on? Any other questions for Nels? Thank you, Nels.
So again, I want to thank all of our House members that showed overwhelming support, each of you. And we did have Sportsman's Day over there at the Capitol that some of you attended. Critical partners over there, a lot of our NGOs. Some of them are here. We got Laura here. Rick was over there helping with the foundation. We got the Game Warden Association, Marshall Ray, who all of us worked hand in hand and together on that. We do have Carol Brewster here, who is going to help us finish this thing up and get it across the finish line. She knows kind of how everything works over there and has great contacts, has been working with us and many of you, so truly a team effort. And if I missed any of our NGOs, it was by mistake, but it's not a one for all thing, it's all for one, so appreciate that. And things are looking pretty good over there, so appreciate your involvement in that. Some calendar items, some of this is repeat, but the Bassmaster Classic is still on. It's a big deal. It's a Super Bowl kind of event if you're a fisherman or an outdoor enthusiast of any kind. So that'll be in Tulsa on the 22nd of March. You've heard a lot about our Rack Madness event, March 6th. Talked to Amanda Thomas, who is kind of co-coordinating that. We've got 250 racks registered already.
Wow.
For a measurer, and a lot of you have helped with that, that is head down, not many breaks, a rack about every 30 minutes. So it's going to be busy at 250. It could grow too. So good job on C&E for promoting that thing, because a couple weeks ago we were at 100, and it's like, it's not going to be very much madness to this, right, with 100, but it's going to be mad now. So welcome to come. A great highlight of our deer management in the state, and some antlers that a lot of folks say are you sure those are from Oklahoma? And they are. So
What time does that start, Wade?
it's 1 to 7.
1 PM to 7 PM?
Yep,
All right.
yep. So March 6th. Of course, April 1st is our commission meeting here in Oklahoma City at 9 o'clock. And then on the 1st, we also have a Wildlife Conservation Foundation meeting at 2 PM. I do want to welcome, many of you have already met her, but Rhonda's replacement, Tammy. Tammy, would you stand so everybody could know who you are?
Yep.
She's going to be up there eventually in Rhonda's seat. She's been in license and she's currently in Wildlife Division, so we're kind of stealing her from Russ and Bill. But she's been working with Rhonda for a couple of weeks, and we'll spend the next month learning as much as we can from Rhonda before she departs. So welcome, Tammy, and look forward to working with you and seeing you up there where Rhonda has spent years. So thank you, Rhonda, too, for that. I'm not going to read many of these details on the agency update, but I am going to touch on a few of them. Of course, admin and federal aid has been busy keeping our bills paid, keeping money coming into the account, working with grants and keeping things flowing there. In human resources, it seems like we're stuck on about 22. We keep about 22 open full-time positions open. Of course, the news in IT is, and you'll have this, but Charles is going to retire. We recognize him at a commission meeting after 35 years, so there'll be some change there. In license, you might notice that there's been some decreases in some license sales. So before you ask, we believe that is that transition from the annual license to the 365. You know, people used to rush out December 31st, 1st of January, February, and buy that license. Some would realize, I'm out here hunting without a license. I forgot it expired on December 31st. I better go get one. So that's that transition. In property, the big news was we had our auction that closed January 30th, and that brought in $650,000 in mostly truck sales, but other equipment. In fish, the big deals, we're still working on Watonga Lake renovation. Ken, is it 7 years running, or how long's that been? 8. We're actually seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. So Ken, Richard, and Chaz out there in the Northwest, I think, are going to get us there eventually. So it's been quite a learning experience. Lots of fish stockings and O&M stuff in fish, paddlefish sampling, of course, folks working on Bassmaster Classic, lots of compliance paperwork there. In C&E division, Mr. Bergen reports that nearly 72,000 licensed hard cards were sold in 23. We just finished up NASP, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, about 5,000 kids. When you're influencing 5,000 kids, that's a serious impact, both R3 and relevancy stuff. So, man, that's a huge effort, a huge undertaking, and folks are pretty good at it, so commend them. So of the 30-plus volunteers from all sections and divisions, couldn't happen without a prime example of the ultimate teamwork there. They had an open house at Lexington WMA. Squirrels, that's pretty cool. And prep for the C&E Roadshow on May 22nd. Then C&E had a crappie course at Arcadia. Then Wildlife Division, lots of turkey flock, winter surveys, fur bear surveys starting, ag leases, grazing leases, lots of smoke, control burns. Every time we have wildfires like we have out west, it gets a little tougher to do prescribed fire because people think we're crazy, but there's a lot of difference between a wildfire and a prescribed fire. It's night and day. Matter of fact, prescribed fire on the landscape over time prevents a lot of that wildfire stuff. So a lot of difference. Over the years I've been involved with lots of landowners on prescribed fire, and everything from I will never do it to the only fire I know about melts barbed wire, I'm out. But it's a slow process, educating and training people, but prescribed fire is the way to go. That wildfire is pretty rough. I've got some photos of some friends out west, Beaver County, where quail, coons, and other critters were literally like torched in their spot. I mean, they just didn't get out of there, but it's pretty brutal, short term, but it's been a rough one. More wildlife stuff is, they got about 15,000 acres burned so far. Of course, you heard about aerial pronghorn surveys wrapped up. Continue with lots of third-party contracts on cedars and habitat work there. Working with timber companies on access, keeping that stuff open. Law enforcement. Game Wardens kicked off the month by working a large booth at the 2024 Tulsa Boat and Travel Show. 100,000 attendees. That's pretty incredible. That's huge. We're out there, we're being relevant, we're doing R3 stuff, and promoting who we are. Got a note here, special thanks to the Oklahoma Game Warden Association. Thank you for the foundation for all the help too. I guess, Rick, you were part of that event up there, so appreciate that. A lot of support stuff in law enforcement, assisting other agencies and organizations for help. And we even had one where folks helped with the squirrel hunt on Sequoia State Park, and I like the idea of special hunts and certain events on state parks, so there might be more opportunity there as we move along. A lot of STEP events. A couple things that jumped out at me is there was a couple lifetime license fraud cases, searching for missing people, deer investigations, and here's one that really got me excited. Not excited, kind of upset. Laura, you might like this one. We had a case where one of the wardens caught an individual shooting quail from a public roadway. And they had unlawful possession of wildlife not legally taken. So you may not know it, but quail is one of really a few species that you can't shoot on the ground. I mean, like you shoot a turkey on the ground, you can shoot a dove on the ground, but quail probably goes back to back in the day. You don't think about road hunting quail, but some of the old timers drive the road, look in the leaf litter, see the whole covey, 12 gauge, get them all, get all 15 of them. So that's probably where the pot shooting quail came from, but people do that. You don't even think about it. So it's been a while since I've seen a shooting quail on the ground from a road case, so that one was pretty crazy. And then law also helped with the NAS stuff. And here's another one, shooting sandhill cranes from the road, okay? If you've ever tried to sneak up on a sandhill crane with a shotgun, it's almost impossible, but some think a 223 from the county road might be successful. You're gonna get a permit for that, so. Yeah. And then there was a big rack scoring event in Enid where I think they had, almost 100 racks, 90-some racks up there in Enid. Yeah. So lots of big deer killed and lots of measuring going on. I think that's all I have, and we can move on to item 11. Thank you all.
Thank you, Wade. One item wasn't mentioned is I think we had a hugely successful first annual legislative reception hosted by Department of Wildlife, our Game Warden Association, as well as the foundation. I think it was a great time, and I see that just getting better every year. I think we'll hopefully make that an annual thing. So thank you all for your co-hosting, co-sponsorship.
Madam Chairman, I think that we'd be remiss, and I think I could say this on behalf of the commission, that I want to congratulate Wade and his staff on the outstanding job they did to get our bill over the finish line. Let's see if we can get it done in the Senate now.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Outstanding.
Like I say, it's everybody at helping out on it, so it's not any one individual. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we do appreciate all efforts. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade. All right, item 11 is Lindsay Presley with our financials.
Good morning, Chairwoman Gaddis, Commissioners. Wait for it to come up. All right, we've got the January 31st, 2024 financials. There we go. We'll start with the combined balance sheet of all fund types. Total liabilities and fund balance is $511,958,837 compared to last year's $482,895,994. our combined balance sheet for month ending January 31st. Our expendable trust fund is $36,665,525. The non-expendable trust fund is $104,764,718. The pension trust is $132,231,318. And the defined contribution trust is $8,198,102. For a total of $281,859,663. Next, we'll go to the combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, again for month ending January 31st, is $59,505,067, which is a 15.13% increase over last year. And next, we've got the combined statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in trust fund balance for our trust funds. The balance was $245,194,138. And lastly, we've got some contributions for you to approve. Any questions?
Awesome. Any questions for Lindsay? And I think we need to
Move to approve the donation.
roll call, please.
Commissioner Deal? Commissioner Barwick?
Aye.
Commissioner Holder?
Aye.
Commissioner Zelps? Commissioner Kane? Commissioner Gaddis?
Hi, thank you, Lindsay, for that report. So the next item is new business. I'm not sure if there's anyone besides me may have a little tidbit. So, Rhonda, you're being called to the podium. 32 years is a long time. I just can't imagine. And, it's hard to even, I haven't been here but 9 or so. And as long as I've been here, this girl has been the glue. I think we all can agree. And your devotion and passion and love for your job, it just exudes in everything you do, and that has been so much appreciated by everybody. I mean, honestly, it's going to be it's just sad to see you go, but I totally am excited for you in your next chapter, and you're staying engaged, and I'm so glad of that. Through the foundation, she will continue to serve. So if you would come forward just for a second. Anyway, I figured you're going to want maybe. You can open that if you'd like.
Not present at the commission meeting, that's a new one.
This commission, it's from the commission, and it's just to show our appreciation for your wonderful dedication and as well as wildlife. Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow. My initials on it.
And it does say something on the back to you as well.
Oh,
but
thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Thank you so
well,
much.
thank you from all of us.
I'm absolutely not prepared, but I want to say thank you very much. It has been, unlike Russ, I didn't think about doing this job when I was a little girl, but I'm really glad that it came my way because it turned out to be the most incredible career I could have asked for. So I've learned a lot, I've done a lot of fun things, and I've made some incredible friends here. And like you've heard a million times, the Wildlife Department's more like a family than just an employer, and I can definitely say that that's true. And I think that I'm excited about retiring and spending more time with my 5 grandkids, but I'm also very happy that I get to stay engaged with the department, because I think that's going to make my transition a little easier, because I'm having a hard time with this. So thank you all for being such good friends, and for you all giving me the opportunity to be here and do some great things with the Wildlife Department. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've known Rhonda for over 20 years, and it's been an absolute pleasure working with you, and you made our lives as commissioners a lot easier.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
And she makes it look easy, so. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tammy, don't mess up now.
Okay, unless there's any other new business, no old business that was unforeseen in the last 24 hours, or before 24 hours ago. The next meeting is scheduled for April 1st, right here. Hope to see you all then, and thank you again for coming.
Fishing, hunting, wildlife management, resource protection, habitat conservation, public outreach, and education.
It's what we do.
It's what we live for.
Simply put, conserving wildlife literally means the wise use of wildlife. And that's at the root of everything we do. Oklahoma is one of the most species-diverse states in the nation. Making sure opportunities exist for hunters, anglers, and all those who appreciate wildlife is not only our job.
It's our passion.
We are your Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. From sunup to sundown, and sometimes all night long, the employees of our agency are relentless in their dedication to a job well done. The science behind wildlife conservation is constantly evolving, and our biologists are leading the way with groundbreaking and cutting-edge techniques that the entire scientific community benefits from. If that's not enough to make you proud, then consider this. We've been doing all this since our agency's birth in 1909, without using a dime of taxpayer money.